Can you use a fancy mixing board like the Tascam Model 12 to run all of your audio directly into your ATEM Mini so you don't have to sync it in post? Absolutely. It's quite simple, and in this video, I'm gonna show you how. Hey, I'm Brian Miller, and welcome to Audio for Content Creators, where we help you sound better and level up for all your content creation needs. And if your goal is to improve the quality of your audio, but you got no idea where to start, go check out our course, Audio 101 for Content Creators at audio101.info. So here we have the Tascam Model 12. This will also work with the Rodecaster Pro or any mixing console that has a headphone output, a line level headphone out, which should be all of them. The first thing you're gonna need is the correct cable. You need a stereo 1/4 inch TRS to stereo 3.5 millimeter TRS. It is a very cheap, very standard cable, and I will leave a link to one in the description down below. Plug the 1/4 inch side into your headphone jack. In this case, I'm going to headphone jack number 1, and plug the 3.5 millimeter side into the ATEM Mini. In this case, I'm going into input 1. It's also useful if you have a really dirty, dust-covered desk for when you're doing close-up shots. And make sure that input 1 is turned on the ATEM Mini. Before we go into the ATEM control software, there's one more thing we need to check on the Model 12. Go ahead and make sure that your headphone jack, the one that you're plugged into, is set to about 3 o'clock or about 75%. This is gonna make sure that you don't overload on the way out, that you don't overdrive, that you don't have too hot of a line level signal leaving the Tascam or leaving whatever your mixing console is before it runs into the ATEM. And here we are in the ATEM software control. Come down to audio tab down here, and you'll see that this mic 1 is on, and that's actually what you've been listening to the entire time. I've been recording all of my audio via an Audio-Technica AT875R, a budget-friendly XLR shotgun mic, which is boomed just out of frame. This is running XLR into the Model 12, and the Model 12 is now sending the headphone jack out into the ATEM Mini. Let's take a look at the settings we need to make that happen in here. Come down to the gear icon in the lower left, come over to audio, and make sure that your input, the one you're plugged into, is set to line level. That's the only thing you need to worry about here. You don't need to worry about anything else. You don't need to worry about effects. You don't need to worry about dynamics or EQ or processing. That's just if you want to. But if you're using a mixing console, you probably don't need to do any of that because you can do your dynamics processing. If you have one that's got compression on it, you can do that here. The only thing I'm actually using is an expander, which I always pick over a gate. And for more on that, go check out some of the tutorials in the description. I also cover that extensively in my audio courses at audio101.info. Seriously, don't use a gate. If you're still using gates, please go learn how to use an expander instead. The last thing that you might want to do is use this delay setting for the mic input. You'll see that I actually have it set to 7 frames, which is almost the maximum that you can set it to. I have found that when I'm recording with a camera plugged directly into the ATEM Mini, as I'm doing right now, and with the audio coming out of a mixing console, that the delay between the mixing console running into the ATEM and the camera is a full 7 frames. I'm not gonna go into how to figure that out in this video, but if you do wanna know, I'll leave a link to, I believe Curtis Judd did a phenomenal tutorial on that in the description. And that's it. So now when I decide to go live, when I decide to either record or do a live stream, I just set the camera and the microphone in my live streaming software or in my recording software to the Blackmagic, to the ATEM Mini. That's all I have to do. One device is covering my audio, and I'm getting the power of the entire Tascam Model 12 at my fingertips, but still getting to sync everything up in the hardware before it makes it into the computer for recording or live streaming. It's incredibly useful. I love being able to do this, and you will too. Is there anything I forgot to cover? Is there anything you need more detail on? Let me know in the comments down below. That being said, I'm Brian Miller. This is Audio for Content Creators. Come back anytime to sound better and level up. One of my lights attached to one of my smart plugs just flickered. This is an audio channel, not a lighting channel. Gotta fix that. I have a virtual event to do in like an hour. Oh, one last thing. If you find that you've got some noise, some hum running through your system, if you're going from the Model 12 or other types of mixers into the ATEM Mini, you might need something like this. This is from MPOW. It's about 20 bucks or less on Amazon, and it's a ground hum eliminator, a ground loop eliminator. In theory, you should be fixing this problem in your studio, in your setup, but because I've got so much equipment, I did spend a few months ago hours and hours trying to isolate this hum that is intermittent. It doesn't always happen, but it sometimes does using this setup. So for 20 bucks, I solved the problem by getting one of these. You basically plug this into the ATEM Mini, you plug the 3.5 millimeter that you're coming out of the headphone jack, you're coming out of the Model 12, out of the mixer, 3.5 millimeter in here, then this goes into the ATEM Mini, and it just totally solves that problem. And for me, it was a fantastic solution. I'll leave the link to this in the description also. I always use this. I only removed it for the sake of clarity in making this tutorial. Hope that helps.